Welcome to Toffee TV. Thought we'd have a chat as Everton's search for a new manager continues. I wasn't here last week. I was away last week. So, obviously Carlo went. Baz and Ned held the fort. But, me and you've actually had this chat about Carlo. But what were your initial thoughts? Are you devastated? Are you You seem to be a little bit down. I've seen a couple of your messages.
Well, Monday was... We saw the rumours on Monday, and we were saying, rumours, isn't it? It's rubbish. I couldn't see it happening, and then we were sat playing FIFA, and Amy and Cam, and Ped came in, and he was going... He's came in all like... hot headed, and he said, he's going. I said, who? I said, he won't be. He said, no, he said, Carlo's going. I said, what? He said, look, all these journalists are reporting it that Madrid are in for him. And I was thinking, oh no, because my head was just like,
Ned gone.
Because you don't know, because when you sack a manager, you got in mind who you want. It's all you've been wanting to go for a while. You know who you want to come in ideally.
Yeah.
And then you lose like the best manager you had for a while. Statistically, the third best manager you've ever had in terms of win percentage. And then you look who's available, and it's just like, oh, I don't like who I'm seeing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I've got to be honest, and people might be annoyed with it, I don't know. I really couldn't care less, honestly. I seen a message on Monday to say that there was something happening, and I was just like, I spoke to my dad, and he was like, my dad was gutted, and I was like, I'm not really that bothered, mate. If Everton would have finished in like top 5 or 6 playing good football, I'd be devastated now.
Yeah.
I'd be heartbroken. I'd be like, as if this happens to us.
But even then, it is what it is, because if Real Madrid come knocking, whoever you are really in the Premier League, bar a couple of clubs, you can't come.
No, it's hard, obviously, wanted to go back to Madrid. So therefore, you've got to look at it and go, well, if he doesn't want to be here, there's no point trying to keep him here, is there? He wants to go back to Madrid. I think the job's easier for him at Madrid than it is here. This is a big job where he's been here for 18 months. So he's had a season and a half. We finished 12th and we finished 10th. We've not pulled up any trees with him. What I would say, though, is we didn't give him his players. And the hope was always, I think we all kind of, even though we didn't enjoy watching us last season, we were all kind of going, well, when he gets his own players, it'll all improve. That's fine. But say it didn't. Do you know what I mean? But he's obviously a brilliant manager. I think Carlo's problem was he's used to just being able to say to players, go out and play. And he had a good level of play. I think at Everton, we mismatch of 5 managers, players who can't really.
They're all a different type of style of players as well.
So,
it's like you can't go out and play, I'm going to play attacking football, because there's only a couple of players who can do the job.
That being said, I think we would have been better this season with him, because I think we'd have got more players, and therefore I think it would have got his it
was only going to go one way, wasn't it? We weren't going to go backwards with him, and that's the disappointment. But that's the risk you get with a manager like Carlo is you go and attract a big name like that, and there's always the possibility that the big fish will come in for him. And then on the flip side, your other risk is you get a manager who's on his way up, then you don't know how he's going to go. You don't know what you're getting with a manager like him. But I suppose we'll talk a bit about that later.
I just think for me, I think he's obviously been a great coach. It was good having him and all that. Yeah. But it is what it is. We've just got to move on, haven't we? He's done well in some sections. We were obviously very good away. And we have to just get over it. And I think a lot of people probably have now. And this means this next appointment is really key. And we have to get it right. It's as simple as that. Let's get into some of the comments anyway. Sophie says, hi Baz, when do you think the new manager will be coming in? They need to get it right. Sophie doesn't think it can be Duncan Ferguson, as he won't be able to attract players. But
being a Premier League club with plans and ideas is enough to attract the players we should be after. Anyway, we don't want to be going to places like Arsenal and attracting players like Iwobi anymore anyway. Where you would be like, oh, here's Carlo Ancelotti. We're going for Champions League. Go for your Leon Bailey's obviously is the name that seems to be often on our lips often. But you go to leagues like Bundesliga or your Ajax and your French league and even your Scottish league or Premier League club. We're trying to get into Europe. We think you can say because it doesn't matter who your manager is. Your Premier League club, your Everton. That on its own is enough to attract your young hungry players, as it did when we were under David Moyes.
I was just going to say, it's like there's on that like list of, and we'll go through the list in a minute of favourites or list of names.
We'll look at the odds,
that are on the just being on everyone's lips and people are putting them out. But I don't think there's many managers who we could get anyway, who players are going to go, I want to join them because he's the manager. If Everton got Graham Potter, who's on the list, Brighton play good football. Yeah, they always finish near the bottoms because they haven't really got a good sense of forward. But they play nice football. Is anyone really in Europe going to go, I want to go and play for Graham Potter? Not really.
We have to be.
Not really. No, but I'm not being disrespectful to Graham Potter. I'm just saying he's not a name who are people really want to go and play for Nuno? Really? Are like Champions League players going to go, I'm going to Everton because they've got Nuno, the fella who finished 14th.
Maybe the odd Portuguese player. Or
but
Wolves player.
The same as Marco Silva, though. Yeah. It's exactly the same. I've other names on the list. Eddie Howe. Is anybody other than Bournemouth players going to want to go and play for Eddie Howe? No. So I think we've got to move. We've just had the manager who could attract players because of who he was. I get that. But to me, there's not many of those elite managers around, and certainly I don't think Everton can get any of them. Maybe Conte.
Well, I was going to say, you look at managers like Conte, and let's say before Carlo, and we just sack Silva now. You won't be looking at your Conte. You'd be thinking, well, the best we can get is probably Rafa. He's the biggest name we can get. Rafa.
Yeah, Rafa Benitez.
And then you look at managers that will look on the odds on the short list later, and you think, oh yeah, they'd be great then, like we did with Martinez and Silva and Kuma. But now you've had the Ancelotti for a year and a season or bit. You're looking at these managers, you're like, no, I want Conte. I demand Conte. I want Pep Guardiola. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, moving on for it, obviously that's all happened with Carlo, and we moved on, and a lot of names were bouncing around. First it was Nuno, and he was getting it within 24 hours, and all of this stuff. Yeah. And then there's people at the end of the week. We finished with Andrea Pirlo, and Sarri,
and the Italian managers,
Ranieri, you know. And then over the weekend, more stuff's come through, and it seems to be back to Nuno. Then loads of money on Dunk. You know, Dunk has moved up the ranks, and people are interested in Ferguson, giving it to Ferguson, and Eddie Howe is pressing hard for the job and all of that.
He wouldn't.
So there's obviously a lot of movements. I hope personally that the club are doing the due diligence properly and looking at everyone, and he's in. The end of the day, Brands is in charge of it, I guess, because he's looking at how we're going to work together. But I hope it's the best man for the job. And, you know, David Moyes is being mentioned, and Rafa Benitez, like you just said. So, at the end of the day, we're going to have to back whoever it is anyway, because we're Evertonians and we do.
Before we look at the odds, you mentioned Marcel Brands, the director of football. He just signed a 3-year contract. So do you think it's the time to get back him and just put him in charge? Now, I said last week, let Brands make the signings now as well, and then let Brands go and find a manager who's had success with the signings he's making. Don't let Brands make these signings of young, fast, hungry, attacking football players, and then let Mashiri go find a manager who's had success with a squad of playing 4-4-2 with a bunch of 6 foot, like a bunch of Andrea Gomez's. When Marcel Brands is here making all these certain signings that he believes are right for the club. So let Marcel Brands make the signings and find a manager who can fit them. There's no point letting one man do the signings and one man find a manager. You'll end up with two contrasting different things, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And that's been the problem, hasn't it? It's been it's if you get someone in to play the pressing style, and you look at Everton's team and you go, well, not really many that can press in it.
Exactly.
All of a sudden you're at a disadvantage. Well, not all of a sudden, you're at a disadvantage anyway. So hopefully that is the case. If he's the director of football and we've given him a new contract and he chose to stay, and then let him direct the football. If that's the way it is.
What's the point of having a director of football? Because he knows football.
And it is a difficult one. Kev Robb says big dunk for me. Ayup says Santo, no Moyes, no Howe, no Lampard, no Ferguson, Santo all day. Okay, everyone got their own views on it, haven't they? I mean, I watched Wolves last year. They were horrific. They were terrible to watch, and they just looked like us.
The other year,
they did lose.
They were trying to transition as well, and that's maybe where a bit of a worry comes into play with Sanso. They were trying to transition, it didn't work out for him, but like you were about to say, obviously they'd lose Jimenez and they lost Jota. And then the problem last season was the goals, wasn't it? They couldn't back up the goals, but maybe he needed a couple. If they really wanted a transition, maybe they needed a couple of summers before they had the finished product.
Yeah, I am Milky Coffee says I'd have Fonseca over Nuno personally if that's an option. Fonseca is a lot of people wanted, and then a lot of people have changed their mind on him because of how Roma finished the season. But he did get absolutely decimated with injuries in the second half.
He's getting a lot
season.
of criticism on Twitter, and I think it's a bit too much, to be honest. But it's each of their own.
The whole thing about this thing is I can't sit here and say to people on the other side of that camera or to you, sat a couple of 3 feet away from me, that you're wrong in what your thing is. The same as nobody can tell me I'm wrong in who I think should manage us.
We will be so split because we've just lost a manager. There's no clear option on who we want or who the club wants. The fan base is if the club's split, then the fan base will be split.
You see, if you're looking at it, what I find really odd about Duncan Ferguson, when people say they don't want Dunk, and IOPS, has said big Dunk's a no-no, well, again, I'm unsure why. Because if in Everton's, in the Dutch way of doing things, Marcel Brands' way and all that, that's what they do over there. They promote from within. They promote ex-players to be their managers. That's how they do it. They have a real thing. So your ex-player will go in and start in the academy, and they work their way up, and then they take over. I remember Neville Southall being in here a couple of years ago, actually. In fact, it was while Silva... It was the same week we interviewed Dunk, actually. But it was while Marco Silva was in charge, and he was saying something about why Everton don't... It's quite a good idea. I don't know whether everyone would be into it, but if you're thinking about the club, he was kind of saying, why don't we have a situation where you have a grooming process for the manager as well? Because you do it for the kids. You're trying to bring the kids through your academy into the 23s and into your first team. So you should do it with coaches as well. And he was like, maybe Everton should be try to be progressive like the Dutch style, whereas you're looking at a manager going, he's got all the attributes here if we do it right, and he works his way up. And this is the thing with Duncan Ferguson is, and listen, everyone's got their own opinion, but this is a fella that's got every single coaching badge. He's got the highest coaching badge, UEFA Pro license. He's had it for 10 years or something.
He's got the most experience, hasn't he?
He's played in the Premier League for 12 years. He's been at Everton Football Club. He's worked under 5 different managers. He's worked under different nationalities.
One of them being Carlo Ancelotti.
Carlo Ancelotti for the last 18 months. A lot of people wanted Mikel Arteta in when the job was up last time because he'd sat next to Pep Guardiola. Well, Duncan Ferguson sat next to Ancelotti and took training every day. He's had 7 years of being a Premier League coach and working with Premier League players every single day.
For 70 hours a week. That's how well drilled he was to be a coach.
The hours, but he's done it every single day. So for me, there's a lot of stuff going for Ferguson. I get the other side, which is he's never done it though for long-term period and stuff like that. But you never, I suppose, until you get that job, you never. I mean, Steven Gerrard had never done anything until he went to Rangers. He just stopped Celtic doing 10 in a row. Not saying the Premier League is like that, but you've got to start somewhere. And Arteta got a huge job I mean, I don't know how he got the job, but he did. So that's just the other side to the Duncan Ferguson argument, I would say. Well, he has got a lot of experience, and he does love the club and all that, and I know that isn't a reason to give him it just because he's
that's one of the main problems. People foresee him as Duncan Ferguson, the player, and he's all about the passion. But I've seen people saying he'll get us relegated. He's a different... obviously, you sat and spoke to him. He has got his own brain, hasn't he? He's a smart coach. He's got his own ideas. He's got his own tactics on how he wants to... he's got his own ideas on how he wants to play, tactics-wise and everything. He's not just going to go out and go play 4-4-2 like the good old days and we're all just going to play our hearts out. It's all about the passion. He's a very experienced and well-trained coach. And
the reason why I would push for Dunk as well is that there isn't... If there's one name that's there and you're going, we have got to get him, he'll sort us, then yeah, we all get behind that. But I think if you just speak to people and look at like social media, there's about 20 different names that people are throwing forward. It's them, it's got to be him, or it should be him, and we're all a bit like, oh my God, we're all a bit punch drunk, I think, because we can't seem to get anything going. So let's have a look anyway. Let's carry on. James Dunlop, all right, lads. Hello, James. It's just jumped too far ahead. Mr. Everton, 1878, says Nuno is going to Crystal Palace. Well, yeah, I think he said, didn't he?
He's been talking to them for about a week.
He has, hasn't he? But didn't Paris say to someone? Didn't Paris mention like something about him as well?
If we went in for Nuno, then he'd be coming to Everton without a doubt. He'd bite our hand off, because it is. I was saying to Kanye the other week, I've not spoke to you about Nuno yet.
Yeah.
But I think I said this the other day, but nevertheless, I said to Kanye the other week when he left Wolves.
Yeah.
Said, I can't see him going to after the 4 years he's had at Wolves, one of them being all not so great. I can't see him going to a Palace type of. I'd see him at the step up. Obviously, he's only 47 years old. He's had 4 good years at Wolves. Let's say, I can see him going to a club like Everton, which is obviously the step up club. You'd expect him. Obviously, we've seen managers go there before, like Koeman and Silva and Martinez, going for a step up, and obviously for a couple of them it ultimately worked out for them, haven't they? Obviously, Koeman's got the Barcelona job and Martinez got the Belgium job. But in terms of the next job for Nuno, Everton would be the perfect job for him, wouldn't it? It's a step up club. He can prove at a club like Everton. If he can build something at Everton and get us into Europe, even the Champions League maybe, then it's perfect for him, isn't it? But as fans, we've had that before, haven't we? We've had a Nuno in like Koeman, who finished 7th with Southampton, and Martinez, who won a couple with Wigan, and Silva had done well with Watford until we were linked with him. But it just seems a bit samey. He's the same type of upcoming manager. We've had that, and that was the thing with Ancelotti. We were happy that we had a big name for once. It was a different type of manager. Obviously, we knew the risks that were coming, and that so turned out that he did go on to Madrid. So it's the same sort of calculated risk you get with Nuno than you do get with the likes of Koeman or Martinez. So because we've had it before, it just feels a bit nerve-wracking. But I suppose, like I said, for him, it's the perfect job for him.
Definitely. I mean, why it's just on you, don't know. Ben Marot says, afternoon lads, I had a little Christmas last week with my family after it got cancelled last year. Forgot I got my dad Carlo's book. 2 days later, Carlo left. Nightmare Christmas present. It's still a good read, Ben, but yeah, it's kind of ruined it a little bit, hasn't it? Fletcher Birch says Conte and Lukaku is the most ideal scenario for me. Richarlison can go for Madrid if he doesn't want to stay. Imagine that. Imagine Conte bouncing in with Lukaku back.
That's the problem with Conte. Like, you've seen, obviously Tottenham have pulled out because of the demands he'd make. He'd walk into Everton, he'd probably throw up and walk out, wouldn't he? Especially if he doesn't get what he wants, because he would demand a lot. And obviously with Everton's FFP situation, it's not great, is it?
Well, tell you what, before we carry on in the comments, let's have a look at the odds. Let's have a lock at Sky Bet. Are we working backwards here, aren't we? So we've got Paulo Fonseca and Frank Lampard and Andrea Pirlo, 20-1. Antonio Conte, 18-1. Rafa Benitez, 14-1. And then we've got Graham Potter, 14-1 as well. Eddie Howe, 10-1. David Moyes, 8-1. Duncan Ferguson, 6-1. And Nuno Santo Espirito, 8-15 on. So quite clearly the bookies think that it's Nuno, don't they?
It's interesting that Duncan Ferguson has jumped up quite a bit since last week. I think he was like 4th favourite or something last week.
Yeah. I think the thing is, it's the bookies are just who's putting money on it, aren't they, and what they see. Eddie Howe has jumped right up.
Yeah.
I've seen him one book, he's had him 2nd favourite. But a couple of people on there aren't on there who I think should be on there. Ralph Rangnick, who was at Leipzig and at
we were linked with him last
Salzburg,
week,
Hoffenheim, he's done thing. He's been a director of football of late, so I understand that. But I think he's brilliant. I think the only kind of the only thing against him is his age. Obviously, he's going to be 60. He's going to be 63 in the end of this month. But He's had Salzburg set up brilliantly. He had Leipzig set up fantastically. And he can't half-spot a player. Quite simply, he knows a player. And I think, yes, I've seen people say, wouldn't that kind of tread on Marcel Brands' toes? Maybe, and maybe that's why Everton mightn't do. But there's the other side to it, maybe, that it's two heads are better than one, maybe. I don't know, but for me, I think he would get us. One of the things about Rangnick is he tries to have a style implemented immediately. And I remember watching an interview with him, and he was saying it's really important that you can watch your team and know that it's my team playing.
It's the whole philosophy thing, isn't it? Bed your philosophy, and then the players will follow. So the problem with him, if he wants to bed his philosophy or start a play, like we've seen with Arteta, for example, you're not going to get the greatest results for a year until you get the players you want him.
Yeah.
Where Carlo's come in and he's tactically worked to the best. He tried to work the best he can with the players he's got. But these players are probably the biggest strength is playing defensive football. Football, trying to grind out the wins. So you could say that this season he got the best out of the players. You could argue that he didn't. That's fair enough. But it's most likely that he did a pretty good job with the players he's got. Where Ralph would come in, a manager like Ralph would come in and just try and stick to this philosophy until he gets the players he wants in, so you're not going to get the best result for a while. So it's the big transition. Yeah,
there's him. There's Lucien Favre, who was at Dortmund. Obviously, had a good time at Nice.
Interesting
that he's not on
Interesting that he's not on the list, actually.
It is, yeah. He's on ones I've seen, but he's another one. But again, 63, so it's not long-term stuff. But Everton 3 years away from moving into a new stadium. Do we get something that's set up for someone else to take on? And another name that wasn't on that list there is obviously Gallardo, who's the River Plate manager. He's 45, so he's a lot younger, hungry, a bit Pochettino-like in terms of work rate and everything. In fact, he had River Plate winning a game the other week. They had to play midfielder in goal the other week and won still. But he's a bit of a left field one because obviously language barrier being an issue. I know Bielsa's had a translator and it seems to have worked for Leeds. But I'm just not sure Everton would go that way. But he's an up-and-coming coach. I think he's one to keep an eye on if someone takes a gamble on him in the Premier League, even if it's not Everton. But it is a difficult one, isn't it? Because no one really stands out. I don't think that you can go, he is the one that I think Everton will move forward with. I think it's quite difficult.
Yeah, and I suppose that might be a factor of that. The fact we've just had Carlo and we didn't want him to leave, did we? I know most of us didn't want him to leave. So now we've been left with managers that aren't really got the same calibre as Carlo Ancelotti. So we're bound to be split. And
who do you think Everton could get Conte aside who would attract players to want to come and play for them? Because I think there's a few people in the comments who are concerned about some of the names actually attracting players. So, I mean, do you think Lampard, because he's on there and has been mentioned, could Frank Lampard attract players? I think he's a name.
He'd be the young English hungry players. He played with the likes of Abraham and Callum Hudson-Odoi, so he can attract those type of players because they know him, don't they? But he's just not the man for me. I suppose Rafa Benitez was on that list, maybe with winning things.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
it's just
because none of them are like Carlo Ancelotti.
We have to, I guess, us as a football club, we have to be able to just attract players anyway, and you hope that it's sold to them. That
shouldn't be your biggest worry, attracting players. That you've got a director of football to go find the right players. If they're not interested in coming to play for a Premier League club and proving themselves like a club like Everton, then look at the players Leicester are bringing in.
No, I know.
I know they're not the perfect example.
They've done well though, haven't they?
They have done well.
They've got Leicester, I think, where they've got a thing is they've got an identity. I think Aston Villa's an interesting one because obviously Emi Buendia has gone there today. Oh, sorry, it's been agreed today. And yet Dean Smith's just Dean Smith's a Villa fan who's managing them. So do people really want to go and play for Dean Smith? I like him. Think he's dead honest. I think
he's
plays nice football.
2 seasons ago.
Well, they were 8 minutes away till Grealish saved them, weren't they, from going back down, and he'd have probably been sacked. So It's an interesting one, definitely. Mr. Dorf says, good to see Baz back. Hope you had a good time off. Yes, I did. Thanks, mate. Jack Crone says, Duncan's tactically aware and the most experienced coach in the league. He'd get us playing with an identity we need.
Yeah.
Lawrence Brown says, Nuno, if he could bring Neto and Adama with him.
No.
It'd be interesting to see if, I mean, I don't know. Everton, I don't think have got the money to attract both of those. Well, not to attract them, to be able to afford both of those. They'd want 50-odd million at least, I think, for Adama.
He probably would want some Wolves players, but...
Neto's one that's been mentioned, doesn't he?
Yeah. Not for me.
But let's see. Kieran Brownbill says, Ralph Rangnick, for me, experienced, but experience in building teams in the model that Brands wants. Has European knowledge, Central Europe knowledge, combined with Brands' South American knowledge could really propel us. That's my thing with Rangnick, you see, is that I think maybe we do have to try to get this identity running through the club and see if we can work with it. Because at the moment, we just seem to be, well, this is just me, this is how I see it, we do just seem to be bouncing from pillar to post and hoping that something sticks. It's like...
We just don't know what we are anymore, do we?
Well, I think if you'd have said, in 2016, if someone would have said to me, Baz, we're going to spend 500 million in the next 5 years, I would have expected us to have played in the Champions League, to probably have won a trophy or two, and have a really good side full of attacking players and exciting players. And here we are 5 years later, having spent nearly that, going, we need another 5 or 6 this summer, and we're nowhere. We just, I don't know, listen, Sam Allardyce got 8th with 49 points, and we've just got 59 points. And Nuno got 59 points for Wolves and got into Europe. We got 59, we finished 10th.
The highest point scorer in
10th place. But we just weren't very good, were we, to watch? You know, and the squad just isn't really, it's not fit for purpose in terms of the balance of it. So I think we just need a roadmap that we can kind of follow that's going to play fast, attractive football. That'll get us all excited to watch our team.
We just need to start sticking to basics. It's the Premier League, the fastest, most physical league in the world. So you need fast, physical players, and we don't. No,
we don't have them, do we? Andy Adamson says, Lampard, for me, hungry manager with something to prove, not as much pressure as at Chelsea.
Fair enough. I suppose there's not really many wrong answers, if you got to
well, there's no wrong answers because none of us know. We tried things. We tried Koeman, the big Hollywood manager, but was doing well at Southampton. We tried him, even though there was some alarm bells before he'd come, and Everton wanted to pull out and he didn't. And then we got Allardyce, and he'd done what he was asked to do. And then we got Silver, who was an up-and-coming manager, and I know a lot of people had reservations, fair enough. Then we got Ancelotti, who was the ultimate, Champions League winning. But I remember doing a show with Ped before we got Ancelotti, after Silver had been sacked. And I'd read loads of stuff on Ancelotti, Bayern players complaining about his training, Napoli weren't happy with him. And I was like, nah, I know he's brilliant, but that's probably not what we need. But then he comes in and it's Carlo Ancelotti, so you go, he's won Champions Leagues, I think I'm just going to let him get on with it, and then here we are 18 months later and he's gone. But I guess with Lampard, I think I can understand why some people would want Lampard, up-and-coming coach, and did well at Derby, and got Chelsea in the Champions League first season. This season wasn't as good. Your issue would be, is he one, though, who looks at Everton and goes, well, if I had 2 good seasons and Chelsea want me back, he'd be out the door again, wouldn't he? And I know people might say, well, yeah, but that's okay because it means we've done well. But Ancelotti's just being poached for finishing 10th. So it is a tough one. And I think that makes it difficult that we don't know.
Let me go off on a tangent a minute here.
Go on.
You mentioned with Carlo Ancelotti, the Napoli moaning about his training. And I've seen players, I think it was like Ian Robin or someone at Bayern moaning about the way he trains. What did you make of the most of this Everton squad unfollowing him on social media? I don't know if it's got anything to do with the relationship with Carlo.
I think it was good to see. Yeah, I like that's the kind of pettiness I can get behind. You've walked out on us, so do one. The way to look at it, I know there was a lot of conspiracy stuff last week, wasn't there? And someone put pictures up of David's wife bidding farewell to that gym that she was in Crosby and all that.
They were moving to...
But he'd signed for a house in Woolton. So they were moving to Woolton. So she was going to be going to a gym down here and all that. And that was only last week that he was due to move into that last Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday. He signed a 2-year rental agreement, I think. So it is what it is, and the players have gone away after the City game, and he said, go away, be in touch, have a break, blah, blah, blah. We come back and we get to work, and those players like him and everything else. So you would be annoyed, wouldn't you? If you're there thinking this fella is won Champions Leagues and we're excited to play. I mean, they didn't show like they were excited to play for him at the end, but he's going to get us places and all that. And then the next minute he's off at the first thing, you're going to go, hang on a sec, what's going on here? You will be annoyed. So unfollowing's the way to go like that, isn't it? Ben Ellis says Duncan needs to go to League One or the Championship and cut his teeth. Week in, week out. All I want is a manager who wants to be with us. Is that too much to ask? It seems like it's too much to ask at the moment, doesn't it? Jim Ed says had to be Rafa, long-term project. Fletcher Bird says Conte's the one to watch. Pulling out of Spurs due to spending restrictions could be code for Everton to step up. And yet I've seen someone, a report today saying, and I don't know how true this is, it was just before I was reading it, saying that Nuno is wants better assurances that Everton have. Oh, Duncan Castles it was, said, not that he's very accurate, but he said Everton have got their own problems, spend the money, so Nuno will want assurances. And we have got it, unless we sell a couple of players, it is going to be difficult for us because of FFP. Yeah. So we do need the likes of Moise Keane to be sold quickly.
Yeah, not loaning him out again.
No. Where are we?
We are. Steve Kelly says on Patreon, all right lads, hope you're both well. Welcome back, Baz. Good to have you back, mate. Says, do you find it interesting that Moyes still hasn't signed a new deal? And are you a fan of managers going back? I've always been put off a bit due to Kendall's last spell. I understand very different, but I think it scared me, that team. Do you think Moyes would be able to work with brands? Because, like you said, Ralph could spot a good player before. Moyes was always good for spotting a good player, wasn't he?
I'm sure he could work with him. I think at West Ham, I don't think he has too much to do with the transfers there. I think Moyes is an interesting one, isn't he? Because a lot of people will instantly now just be fuming that you've just mentioned his name. Because there's a thing.
He's what, third favourite?
He's the third favourite. There's a lot of history being rewritten about David Moyes at Everton, and the truth is Everton were quite good and stable under Moyes, but we did have that knife to a gunfight thing which always used to wind me up, and by the time he left I was ready for him to go. I wanted something different. He's done a great job at West Ham. In between, not so great. It'd be interesting to see him with money, I guess, and he gets us if that's important to people. But it is interesting he's not signed with West Ham, but that's probably leverage. I would see Everton as probably not having him too high up on their priority list, I think. But then again, you don't know, do you? We're being told Marcel Brands is driving the bus on this. So if Everton did end up with David Moyes, then he would have to be fully in agreement with it. But he didn't get it last time. But he was close to getting it when we got Ancelotti. He was very close to being the manager at that time. And that was before he'd done well at West Ham. So I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out altogether. But I don't know whether he's as high up the list as they stay. But it will be interesting. But a lot of people will be very disappointed, I think, because I think they want to move away from that. But I guess the problem is that we've tried a lot of different things and none of it's worked yet. And when there isn't one outstanding candidate, it makes it difficult. I guess Spurs have got a similar thing now. They've got, they thought, they might have thought they'd be getting Conte and it's not happened. They want Pochettino and he wants to go back, but PSG have said they're not letting him out. So they're probably looking around. They had Graham Potter. They were looking at Graham Potter, but that hasn't happened either. Ten Hag was discussed. He's been linked with Everton as well. So they're probably in the similar thing. Levy's probably in a similar thing going, who's the most, who's the one that fits what we want to do kind of thing. I don't know, it is a difficult one. Blue Cali says, Rangnick and Brands can do the project we desire and succeed. Mathew Ashes makes a really good point. Be fair, if I was a player, I'd be scared to sign for a team with no manager. Absolutely. Noble as Savage says, Gallardo for me. Yeah. Where are we? There. Great Outdoors says Fernando Santos, the best manager in Europe, the Portugal national manager, born winner. Matthew Renton says, I think anyone other than a top manager such as Conte, Pochettino is a step backwards. But what can we do, Matthew? Because Pochettino, he ain't getting out of PSG. I don't think they want him to go anywhere. So if he doesn't want to come, or can't come, then he can't really. That's not really on the club, is it? And if Conte, if we can't, someone said he was on 22 million euros a year at Inter Milan.
There's got to be some realism back into our brains now, isn't there? We just finished 10th with Carlo Ancelotti, and he's gone off to Real Madrid. And obviously we have got problems with FFP and P&L, which is come from us being so poor with recruitment in the past few years. So I suppose getting the upcoming hungry manager who wants to come at Everton is probably the best option at the moment, or the only option.
Interesting, isn't it? Musical Magic with Mr. S, what a name. Says, I'd have Eddie Howe. We are a club that needs building, not just tweaking. And Eddie Howe built a decent team with Bournemouth, bringing up to the top league from the 3rd division. He did. He also got them relegated. And I know people might say, well, whatever, the money or whatever. His buys were terrible. Jordan Ibe and Solanke and people like Brad Smith, people like that. They, give Liverpool about 50 million quid for those three. They weren't great buys. But they did play nice football. But there's a little bit of Martinez in that for me, of like, he got relegated in his last job and then he's getting the Everton job. That to me doesn't sit right. That's just me.
The difference of seeing managers like him and Potter as well. Eddie Howe, he'd built his team, didn't he? He was signing his own players. He had a team of all his own players. Potter was playing really nice football. But he's not got a finished squad yet, has he? Obviously hasn't even got a decent striker who can put the goals in.
But if they did have a decent striker though, they'd have finished
mid-table,
much further up, because they create a lot of chances. Yeah. So he wouldn't be inspiring if you give it to Potter. But if he come in and play the way he wanted to play, and he's another one though. He got that job, didn't he? He'd done well at Osterland and then went to Swansea, and I suppose that's why. So I don't know. Foot 21 Central says we need a manager that'll get us success. Exactly what we do. Football Fan Talk says Everton need to get Sean Dyche until your stadium move. Sean Dyche. I don't know. Sean Dyche done brilliantly at Burnley. No money, never really in trouble.
Do you think he wants to leave Burnley?
I think he's a little bit. Listen, give the video a thumbs up if you're watching. Nearly 1,000 of you watching. Give the video a thumbs up. I don't know whether he wants to leave Burnley. They don't have any money, so therefore his job is always more difficult year by year. He's done it reminds me of David Moyes at Everton. Really, he's in control of everything, and so while he's in control of everything, he'll put up with not having any money. I
was going to say, you imagine Burnley if he left as well. I think
they'd be in real trouble, wouldn't they? But I think, for me, I think he's done a brilliant job at Burnley. Definitely.
Fed said last week he reckons there's a job somewhere else for Sean Dyche, but
I honestly thought Palace would get him, but obviously, look, Nuno's in the running there. But I thought Palace might get him because they're a team who are a step up from Burnley in terms of, because they've got a bit more money and everything else, and they're Burnley an established Premier League team as well, of course. But I always thought that he might go there and do all right with them. But fair play to him, he stuck it out. He's done well. Sean Davis says, Duncan Ferguson, it's all nonsense saying he isn't ready. Fully qualified, most importantly, knows Everton, shows passion and heart. If players show no effort, he wouldn't stand for it. Yeah. Barry JB says he's untested, go and prove yourself in the Championship, then come back. Yeah, fair enough. Arcade Adele wants Big Dunk. Kev Rob, we only win trophies with ex-players in charge. Come on, big dunk.
Post-war, that is true, isn't it?
It is post-war.
That's
We've only ever won
Kendall
it with
and
an ex-player, haven't we? See, Howard Kendall, Howard Kendall had just gone to Blackburn when we got him, and they were in the league below, and they weren't brilliant, Blackburn, and we went and took him, and he was only in his 30s, 34, 35. He come to Everton as player manager. Now we'd have no chance of getting the job because on social media people wouldn't have it. What's he done?
If the social media was around back then, he'd have been sacked.
He got sacked.
Anything.
Howard would have been sacked. With social media, he'd have been sacked. There's no question about it. I was in the ground as a kid when people were throwing cushions onto the pitch, and 13,000 against Coventry, and 8,000 against them in the Cup, and 4,000 against Chesterfield. I was there, and it was mad.
And then we won the FA Cup.
And then 5 months later, we won the FA Cup, and all of a sudden, he was incredible. So
Moyes would have got sacked as well.
Yeah, it was different times, of course, but it's all about being able to build into that, isn't it? Build something and follow it. Noble Savage says Dunk wants Carsley as his assistant, apparently. Yeah, Lee Carsley's very highly rated coach. In fact,
he's linked with the England under-21 job, isn't he?
It looks like he's getting the England under-21 manager's job. So good luck to him for that, because he is a very, very...
I love Lee Carsley.
Very highly rated coach.
Loved him as a player.
Martin Carter says, what about Ralph Hasselhut? Hasselhutl, even?
No, he's not done a great job with Southampton. Any manager that gets beat 9-0 twice in 2 seasons, no.
He's got some good sides
spells, too. Yeah, he's played nice football at times. He's been a bit inconsistent. I think there's a good manager in there, but he's on and off, isn't he? I know Piv likes him, but no, I don't think the next move for him's Everton. I don't think he's the right man.
Okay. Jamie McLeod says, for me, it should be Ferguson. He knows the club inside out. Give him time, shall we do? Football Fan Talk says, you need a manager to ground Everton for the minute. Phil Allen says, Carsley just got the England job, the 21s job. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, he has. Lee B says, Big Dunk, go on, give him a couple of years. Blue Cali makes a good point. Carlo wasn't even in the odds when we got him. It had been mooted, hadn't it? But then it kind of like stepped away, but it had been mooted at the time.
Moyes was heavily the favourite, wasn't he? And
yeah.
He suddenly got this sackage at Napoli, and we were in for him.
Barry JB says if it was going to be Ferguson, he'd have it now. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Maybe he would. Neil Leatherbarrow says we can't go near Nuno. Far too negative.
Because he plays 5 at the back.
Maybe.
Interesting take. Do you think? Remember before we got Ancelotti and Moyes? It was after the Chelsea game. He beat Chelsea 3-1, and Moyes said, and I think the reporter asked Duncan Ferguson, said, would you like to take the job? And he said, no, I want the best manager to come in and get it because I care about the club. Do you think he's still got the same mentality, or do you think he feels like he is ready himself to take the job?
I think he wants the job. I think he backs himself, because maybe he's looked and just gone, well, we've tried this and this, none of it's worked, and yeah, I'm confident in my own ability. But then again, if I'm guessing if someone like Pep Guardiola become available and wanted to come here, he'd go, yeah, get Pep Guardiola because he's brilliant. I don't think he'd have any problem with that. I think we all want the best man for the job, don't we? All I'm saying is there's a lot of different names, and that shows you, I guess, the problem with it. It's such a tricky one. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's just so difficult, I think. Lawrence Brown says Ralph Rangnick has a great eye for talent. Definitely does. Martin Hall wants Emma Hayes.
Interesting.
Gurney Tunes says, "Aye lads, in my lifetime, Everton have won 1 major trophy. I feel the club is cursed. Anyone else with
0
investment we've had would improve, but it never seems to sick of the false dawns." Yeah, most definitely it is just grim, isn't it? Kev Robb says, hit the like button. Nice one, Kev. Top Cat Coolio says, common sense one is Benitez, then Rhino or Dunk. So many different views besides proven wants to live in the area. Oh, Rafa, yeah, but I think the problem is with Benitez is, he doesn't play great football first, but he gets results, which is essentially the only thing that matters in football, isn't it? But I think the other problem with him is he'd only be 3 defeats away from a crisis with him. Whereas the minute he lost a couple of games, Evertonians would be like,
you'd only have to say one
he's a
wrong
cop-out,
thing.
or he's this, or he's that, get him out. And you'd have them going, aging, Rafa and all that, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? But his record, tactically, he is fantastic, isn't he?
Did you mention Unsworth then as well?
Yeah. After it, like a progression thing, like we said before, maybe. LCCMD7 says, what do you think of Nico Kovac shout? Marcel Brands has a working relationship with Monaco and Sidibe for the Onyekuru transfer. But Kovac was linked with us when he left Bayern, wasn't he? I don't know. Interesting one. Maybe, like someone said before, he, could be on the list anyway, and we don't know, couldn't he? Stephen Richardson says, could Nuno bring the best out of Gomez?
The type of football Nuno's played, it's been like, get a player like Adama or
Adama
Traore or Neto or Jota on the break, and then get it into Neves. Neves isn't, he's not the mobile player, but he can sure pick a man out. And Gomez was that sort of a player, I suppose. But that's where you got to really, if Marcel Brands is in charge of doing the signings and go and get the manager, then it should be down to Marcel Brands to go, right, no, he's rubbish. These are the players you're having. Yeah. Work with them. If you can't, I'll move you on and get a manager who can, because I'm the director of football. I'm directing where we're going. So it shouldn't be really down to Nuno. He might come in and say, yeah, I want to give Andrea Gomez a go. Fair enough, but if we're gonna back Brands, and Brands needs to be getting the players out and in regardless what the manager wants for me.
But what about the manager's got to have some say though, hasn't he? Surely.
Yeah, I suppose so. But as I said to Ped last week, maybe this is a chance for Gomez to get himself back on the side. But Brands should know himself. If Brands is making the signings and getting players out the door, a decision should already be made that if an offer comes in for Gomez, we'll take it. But whether Nuno has an influence on that, I don't know. But for me, I hope not, because I don't think he's good enough for a Premier League club. Andrea Gomez.
Okay. Mark D says, Baz, Everton wants an up-and-coming manager, then Pellegrini, Matarazzo from Stuttgart. In a year's time, he won't be able to get him work with Nagelsmann at Hoffenheim. Yeah, he's an up-and-coming one, isn't he?
Did they get into Champions League?
I think his win ratio, let me just check his win ratio, because I don't think
it's a shame the timing, Nagelsmann going by Munich, isn't it?
Oh, what, because we'd have got him?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he'd have couldn't wait to get here.
Yeah.
Pellegrino, Matarazzo. Win ratio, just under 40%. 39. He had 40% at Stuttgart. Yeah, again, it's up and coming though, isn't it? It's whether you've got to work with Marcel Brands, which is fine, and it's whether Everton want to take that. Some people Brian Owens has said give Rooney a go. Great Outdoors said Tim Cahill. Ben Vol says Ralph Rangnick. Pirlo could attract players. He's not done well lately, says Fletcher Birch. Mary Jackson says Duncan Ferguson, number one choice. Mashiri, who is right there, ready to continue his good work with the club. Hayden Gaskell says doesn't matter who the coach is, just get Grealish in and we're set. I wonder how much
a dream
Grealish should be. He wouldn't come here, would he?
No,
wouldn't come here.
Too good for us at the moment.
Hell of a player. Hazik Boy says Rangnick would be the ideal manager. Graham Potter could be a shout, but it could turn sour very quickly. Dan says, what do you think of Marcelo Gallardo, the River Plate manager? Looks really good, highly rated, good age and all that, but whether Everton... There's a language barrier, isn't it? I don't think he speaks English very well from what I've read. So that might be...
The problem with the language thing is always if one bad thing gets said in a press conference that it's misinterpreted and it was a bit sideways. What about Gasperini?
Gasperini? Don't know. It's done all right. But there's a few of them though, isn't it? There's like There's Gasperini, there's Galtier, who's just left Lille. You know, won the league and left them. He's an interesting one. You know, there's
AVB left Marseille.
AVB is one who I've seen mentioned quite a bit.
Not the greatest track record in the Premier League, though, has he?
No, but he did have a great record at one time, didn't he? It is difficult, isn't it? A, B, C, D, E, F says it's going to be Moyes. I think it's strange that he hasn't signed the new deal with the Hammers. It is, isn't it?
Maybe that's because they're looking at Lampard or something. It doesn't necessarily come down to Everton, but you never know. It is. You'd have thought he'd have signed it by now if he was staying, wouldn't you? End of the season. Yeah.
Well, you would have, but then again, also if you're clever, if you're him and you're clever, you'll use that to your in your bargaining power with West Ham. You wouldn't you? You'd be saying, well, hang on, Everton are interested in me here, and they've offered this, and they're going to give me that, you know, and maybe just try to tempt them to go, yeah, you can have a few more quid, or we'll do this, whatever. James Dunlop says, I like Moyes, but I'd stay at West Ham where they've got Europe next season if I was him. Well, yeah, if he's got the controller then that he wants, and why would he leave really? But then Everton, I guess, is a big pull for him if Everton are interested in him. So I don't know. Top Caculio says Moyes left Everton for Manx. Remember, I know, but he'd been at Everton. For 11 seasons. We weren't going any. In that time, we hadn't been able to get any investment in. He'd worked wonders with us, really, considering we didn't have much money. Yeah, he bottled a few things, of course he did, but so did the players. And then United come calling for him, and he looked, and Ferguson was his mate, and he'd seen them winning stuff. Don't forget they were league champions when he went there. So that was a big job for him, wasn't it? But yeah, but a lot of 8 years have gone by, and we're not in a better position now, are we? Than when, financially, we might be moving to a stadium, but team-wise, we've done nothing, have we? We've done nothing since he left, so that's why people would. But I do understand why people don't want him, of course I do. Stephen Quennett, Steve, says, if we're looking for a manager who wants to bring identity to the club, why would Eddie Howe be so bad? Just don't let him anywhere near the transfers. Well, that's it, isn't it? If you're going to build this identity, and we're going to play this way, and this is how we do things at this club, then you want an up-and-coming coach or your young coach to just go, right, you're literally the head coach, don't you? There's the players. Build a team from them. I guess that's how it works, so that if he actually doesn't do very well, you can swap him out with the next one who does the same. I mean, that's the thought process behind it, is that you build this team, and if he doesn't do very well, he's pulled out and the next one's put in, and you don't need to buy 10 new players because you've already got a team. That's what it really should be, but it doesn't necessarily always work like that, does it? But it hasn't worked like that for us, has it? No. Right, we'll do another 5 minutes.
Should we do some Patreon comments?
Go ahead, yeah. Do some patrons, yeah.
Tom Newton says, our board terrifies me. Literally 5 minutes after Carlo was left, I was able to think of a long list of quality, credible managers more suited than the mid-table mediocre ones we were talking to, and I'm just a random fan. Gallardo, Fav, Ten Hag, Galtier, Lowe, Ragnick, Amorim, who's that?
Conceição.
Sporting manager, is it?
Conceição.
Yeah, I can't say.
Amaran's the Sporting Lisbon manager who's done very well as well.
Yeah, they just won the league, didn't they? The list goes on. Nuno is good, but he finished bottom half with 40 points, and Moyes is a glass ceiling manager. Interesting.
No, there's some good points there.
Astro says, can't be bothered either that he left. I'm more worried about the club restarting the whole process of a new manager and the faff that comes with having a squad cobbled together from 5 different gaffers wanted. It's a bloody Frankenstein squad at this point, cobbled together and staggeringly slow. Our show too, Duncan Ferguson makes no sense. Who wants to play with him, and has he proven it anywhere near the level we need to? No. Well,
That's okay. It's people's.
It's a good opinion, but like I said before, like you said before actually, or like I said last week, but people would have thought. I truly believe people would have thought Mikel Arteta before he went Arsenal, before we got Carlo Ancelotti.
Well, he would. People couldn't wait to get Arteta.
And the main factor being he just had time under Pep Guardiola.
He'd made brews for Pep.
Yeah.
James Harrison says Rafa all away for me. Remember him saying on Talksport before Judas took the job that he'd happily manage the Blues. Wildlife says just put Duncan in charge. O2 Johnson Michael says Favre. Yeah, good shout. I am Milky Coffee says absolutely delusional if you're thinking Poch. Did we say Poch? Did you say Poch?
I didn't say Poch.
No, we're
not getting Poch.
No, we
said Tottenham on Poch.
Said Tottenham on Poch. We wouldn't get him. Lovely to get him, but there's no chance of him coming here.
Let's get Poch.
Glenn Watson says, Baz, do you have a boss suntan or does it look better sat next to Ned? I have called the sun because it was absolutely boiling, wasn't it? Carl Riley says Eric Ten Hag constantly works with a small budget, good with young players. Ajax have a set style of play, up and coming, hungry manager and wears some boss suits. Yeah, he's just signed a new deal, though, hasn't he, till 2023? So, yeah. I mean, then that's a compensation job, isn't it? But yeah, he's what I mean. That Dutch connection kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's you'd think that he would definitely be on Everton's I don't know about a wish list, but certainly on Marcel Brander's I would like to speak to him and see if he's interested in coming.
Both got similar ideas. Eric's worked with young Dutch players before, obviously, with likes of De Ligt and what have you. So,
it is an interesting one, definitely. Corin says, hello Baz, glad you're back. I think David Moyes and Duncan Ferguson would do a good job. We never know, would we? We never know till you try them. Like I said, there's no wrong answers here, definitely. Mango 42 says, what's happening with FFP and how does it impact Everton? I'm really in the dark on this. Basically, FFP is being challenged. Obviously, City challenged it and it moved. And then COVID has come in and they've turned around now and said they're going to have to take another view on it because it isn't the same. But the Premier League so far haven't changed their stance on it. On the Premier League's FFP view, it's called profit and losses in the Premier League. But so far, they haven't changed their stance on it. But if I was Everton, I would be challenging it and saying, hang on, well, first of all...
Everyone's lost 100
First of all,
pounds.
You know the 6 who wanted to get off and leave you in the thing, who you've now, took back and someone who's been, a cheating partner and you've took back.
Just swipe this thing under the car.
And they've gone,
Super League.
Let's forget about it. So that'd be my first thing, which Carlo Ancelotti said the other week. But the second thing I would be turning around and saying is, we're in the middle, we're still not out of a pandemic. We haven't been able to have fans in the stadium all season. We've lost revenue from the television, we've lost revenue from the sponsors. So you can keep your P&L stuff because it doesn't apply. These are extenuating circumstances for what's gone on for the last year. And therefore, a lot of clubs, I think, will say the same thing. So therefore, surely there's no way. But until they actually come out and say, that's what we're doing, then Everton can't really do anything, I don't think, until we sell Moyes. If we sell Moyes Keane for 35, 40 million, then that clears a big way. And obviously, we've just knocked off Balassi, Bezic, Walcott kind of wages, haven't we? So it'd free it up. Terry McAllister says, Steven Gerrard's a non-starter. We sang songs about his kids. He hates us, we hate him. He's waiting for Liverpool. Plus, winning the SPL isn't an achievement.
I don't know, if it was Tim Cahill who'd just gone and done the job he'd done, then it'd be perfect for us, wouldn't it? But it's a shame that the man who's just done what he'd done in the SPL is Steven Gerrard, otherwise it'd have been a really good...
But Gerrard will go to Liverpool, and if I was him, I'd wait for Liverpool, because obviously Jurgen Klopp's done incredible. How much longer? I think he said he's staying 2 more years, hasn't he? So for Gerrard, I understand he might want to stay another 2 years at Rangers, he might want something else, but Steven Gerrard could get a job in England. Even he could win the league again this year with Rangers, and then get a job in England at I don't know, but somewhere like Southampton, just for argument's sake, without being, but you know what I mean, a team like that. and then have a clause in his contract that says if Liverpool's job comes up, he's gone. Because that's who he wants to manage. He played for them. He's a Liverpool fan, of course he does. So that's what it's
Sure,
about.
the fans will want him as well.
Yeah, definitely. Derek Jones says a decent discussion, but as a Liverpool fan, it's sad to see you being too realistic. For fuck's sake, dream a little. You know what, Derek?
It's
easy. It's dream, but who do you dream about? It's not Potts, because we'd never get any chance of getting him. Nicholas Sadlier says, is there a reason Brendan Rodgers isn't in contention? See, I would have Brendan Rodgers, and he has managed Liverpool, and some Evertonians wouldn't want that, but I think he's a coach with an identity, plays decent football, and has done quite well.
You'd absolutely have him.
But he wouldn't come to Everton at the moment, I don't think.
No, but you'd still want Everton to have a bit of cake about him and go and put an offer in anyway, regardless. Like we said with City, City went and offered all these different players contracts.
Delamere Bear says, exercise those thumbs and give the stream a like. Nice one, mate. Jay Evans says, Dyche is on the verge of signing a new deal at Burnley. Fair enough, mate. Rob Talentire says, where did you go on holiday, Baz? Wales, mate. North Wales. It was roasting. Fletcher says, Arsenal need Sean Dyche. Delamere also says, come on, guys, more likes, the longer they'll stream. Mark Burns says, give Rafa a go. Great Outdoors says, hit the like button. Where are we? Toothy Orifice says, hi Baz, how was your vacation? It was lovely, mate, thank you very much. Well, it was going lovely, because it was just super chilled. It was great. I was thinking, no footy, a week, the lads were sorted here, a week of doing nothing, and then obviously Carlo left. And then
he turned his phone off on Sunday and turned it on Tuesday.
I turned it on, and it was back on Monday, and I was just, it was Monday, wasn't it? And it was just like, here we go. And from then, it was a night, off you go, because you can't help but check, can you? Because you're thinking, what's happening? Craig Smith says, I don't want Duncan coming into this environment. Get a better squad established, then give him a go.
Do you think the pressure would be off Duncan to take over now, because obviously we know the squad needs a rebuild, but you'd obviously expect him to have a bit more time?
No, I think he'd be under pressure. I think whoever comes in is under real pressure. I think whoever it is, because I think for us as a fan base, we're getting our spring is getting coiled even tighter and tighter, because we want a team that we can enjoy watching. We also want a team that's qualifying for Europe and doing stuff. It's been too long. You're a kid, aren't you? You're 20, whatever it is.
Never seen a
and
trophy.
You've seen us.
Never seen Champions League.
The trophy's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah. But even when we
you haven't even
Europa
seen
League,
us put back-to-back seasons together where we're good getting into Europe. It's horrific.
We've been dross every time we've been in Europe.
Exactly, and there's loads of Evertonians watching this who would be in the same boat, going, oh, hang on, Mike, why are you saying we should be doing this when you said the other week, all you know is like kind of mid-table Everton. It's like...
People in my generation look at us like, why do Everton think they're a big club?
Yeah.
Well, we know we are, but what can we back it up with in the past 20 years?
No, it is.
It's a shame. We
have to do that, though, don't we? We really have to make sure that we can give people something to be proud of, because we're not doing it. Even at first, if it's not trophies, at least qualifying for Europe and giving Evertonians days out and having good nights at Goodison before we move. And
I've
all
said
that.
loads of times, Tottenham haven't won anything in the past few years, but look where they were 10, 15 years ago to where they are now.
10 years ago?
All because of back-to-back trophies under Poch.
Back-to-back European qualification. Trophies, they wish. Back-to-back trophies. Steve O says, not too upset Carlo has gone. He's passionless. 10th, any manager can do that. Fair play, mate. Andrew Bowen says, need a hungry young manager who will give all to this great club. I'm not saying Lampard, but someone in that mould. Okay. Trevor Hambridge says it's a bit offensive to Dunk as well to suggest he's all about passing and grabbing players. His biggest weakness would be attracting players. But, and I'm not disputing that at all. What I'm saying is, have we got to get past that attracting players? Because I'm not sure what managers on the list that is being put out there. There might be others, but the one that's out there, I'm not sure there's loads on that.
The club won't be looking at names going, they'll attract us players.
Might.
Yeah, but
Oh, but you know what I'm saying? What I'm asking the viewers is, who's on that list where you'd look and go, I want to go and play for him? Like Eddie Howe, does he attract players? No. Graham Potter, does he attract players? No.
No one on that list is on the same standard as Ancelotti, where you can say, well, look who's manager.
Conte, not saying he's on the same, but Conte would attract players, I think, because he is a big
but we'll try and leave him out the
of course.
That's not happening.
So I think it's a little bit, it's a tough one to go, well, we shouldn't get him because he won't attract players, because hopefully the club and Marcel Brands are the ones selling the club to those players, isn't it?
If you're looking for the right player, if Marcel Brands is going looking in the right leagues for the right players, then Everton, a Premier League football club, is enough to attract those players.
You'd hope.
Well, yeah. But it's a step-up club, isn't it? Go and prove yourself at Everton, and you'll have a move with them into where they want to go, or you'll get you move to a better club. But Everton will be better off because they'll make money, and they would have had a really good couple of years. We hopefully get them getting into you.
And we do have to become, and it hurts me to say this because obviously I seen us win the league when I was a kid, but we do have to become a stepping stone club first until we get to where we want to be.
Who's not, if you're not Real Madrid or Barcelona?
Well, yeah, of course, but what I mean is it is, and I'm not going, we should be Leicester like a lot of people seem to think, but getting people in, making them better and selling them on to reinvest that money back into the team to improve, to get them in. To do that is how you quickly march up the league.
And then eventually you get to a point when you got 10 of those players, and then you go and make your £80 million signing, which will win you something. And then your players all stay then because you're winning trophies.
We have to try and become self-sufficient at some stage. We can't always rely on Mashiri or Usmanov. We can't.
Yeah.
Neil Leatherbarrow says got to be Fonseca. Yeah, fair enough. He's a free agent, isn't he? Like I said before, done really well with Roma till the injuries hit. Sam Benjamin says either a proven winner like Rafa or Conte or Big Dunk, no in between, up and coming promising equals mediocre managers. Yeah, it does seem to be one or the other with it, doesn't it? Yeah. Like I say, Favre is a proven manager as far as I'm concerned, as is Rangnick. Has done really well has done well, better as a Toffee probably, but he's a good manager as well.
What about Ranieri?
No, not for me. Other people might say yeah, but for me personally,
I think because of his last season at Leicester.
Yeah, I just no, I'm not having it. Steve O says Adrian Heath. I love Adrian Heath, but I think he's quite happy in Minnesota.
How's he doing over there in America?
It's all right. He's doing all right. He got to the playoff finals last year. Should have won, actually. They were 2-0 up and got beat 3-2. So, Everton did up. Akash Mishra says Everton need to sign the Lille manager, Galtier. Yeah, he's left, hasn't he? He's free now as well. Tom Gibbons says, I think we should give it to Ten Hag. If not, then I'll give it to Duncan. I don't want Conte because I think he'd leave after 2 or 3 years, meaning we'll be back to square one. That's my big thing. And that's not necessarily saying just give it to Duncan then, but I'm just saying my big thing is we have to get it right, because I just don't want to be here again in 18 months saying exactly the same thing. Going, oh, we've done this and we've got to do this, and because it's just so frustrating.
It's a circle, isn't it?
Carl Byron says Robin said his child's team coach manager's better than Carlo. Yeah, he did say that, didn't he? Alex Goulding says, why does the manager need to attract players? They attract established players, only over the hill players. Brands need to attract the players. Do well, go to a massive club. That's it, Alex. That's exactly what it is, really. Beryl Craig says, it's success that attracts players. I believe Duncan will get us winning and then the players will come. Yeah. Well, I think regardless of whether you're going on about Duncan Ferguson or you're talking about a different player, a different coach, whether it be Graham Potter, whether it be Eddie Howe, whether it be somebody else, we want the club to be attracting the players. We want those players to go, I actually want to go and play for Everton because they're a good side, they play good football, they got a great fan base, they're moving to a new stadium, and if I do well, in 2 years I can go to a Champions League club. And we might want to hear that, but that's the kind of play we need to get to, because those players will elevate us. And in 2 years, it's like the Dom thing. We're finishing in 3 or 4 minutes, so hit the like button, please. But the Dom thing, a lot of people were offended with that, but I look at it and just go, well, okay, the lad's ambitious, that's fine. Let's match him. Let's try to match him rather than going, well, no, you should just be happy to stay here and not want to do anything. So if we get players in who are trying to get into the Champions League, That's great for me because I think, well, you're going to come in and do the business. You'll get your move. And if you get your move and we double our money, we'll make sure we get the next lad in who's going to do the same. But you'll be dragging us with you. And like you said before, at one stage, we'll get to a stage where we've got 6 or 7 of those
because
lads.
You sell one and you get 2 or 3. And by the time you got 10 of those players who all want to win something and they're all great players, then you say, hang on, lads, don't go anywhere because this season we're going to sign him for 80 million who will win us the league. And then we'll win the league and then the Champions League. And then we'll be the best team ever and they'll all stay.
There you go.
And then they'll all get old.
Bal Rice says, Big Dunk got the players to respond in 4 games. He was in charge more in 4 games. He was in charge than Ancelotti did in 18 months. Keiko says Everton need to go big. We can't be getting an average manager. Eric says we need Dyche. Barry JB says Conte's the closest to Ancelotti. So far, I'll go for Conte. Yeah, I mean, that might well happen, mate. It might well happen. I wouldn't say that definitely isn't going to happen. Whether he'd come is a different thing, of course. But who knows? Who knows? Trevor Hambridge says people have such a stereotypical view of Dunk, which isn't the reality. Yeah. Where are we there? Moving down. Alex Goulding says, see that stat about players we've brought in under previous managers for 107 million and sold them for 2. Yeah, scandalous, isn't it? Last of the Corinthians says Arteta was an assistant, so why not Dunk?
Yeah.
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 And Trevor also says, how isn't Dunk qualified? He has all of the badges and years of experience working as a number 2. Mike O'Glenn says, we all love Dunk, but he isn't a proven manager. Leslie Wainwright says, it's a no-brainer. It's got to be Moyes. Better the devil we know. And he's cheap. Great Outdoors wants Cahill, Dunk, Cahill, Baines and Coleman as the team, the backroom team. Carl Byron says we need a manager who can give instant success like Chelsea's manager. Sick of getting managers in for a few years. Who's that though, Carl? Because Chelsea is like, I mean, I love Tuchel. I've wanted Tuchel since 2013. It's on everywhere. When I was on the Blue Room in 2013, I wanted Thomas Tuchel and they were a bit like, oh, but it was when he'd been at Mainz because I'd read loads and loads on him and loved him. And I think he's done great. And it's just a pity he's not out of work at the moment because he'd be ideal. But he went into Chelsea, who were a squad that still has got Premier League winners in from a few years ago and still got lads who got them into the Champions League last season. And he's done brilliantly with them. A proven manager coming in. Pep Guardiola couldn't get this Everton team to win a trophy, I don't think, without getting players in. So I understand what you're saying, absolutely. But it's difficult to do. I think once you get the squad to a certain level, I think that's a lot easier to do. Jonathan says Potter or Conte, and I'm smiling. Fair play.
2 very contrasting managers there.
Yeah. Last of the Corinthians says still early days for Arteta. It is. Delamere Bear says Duncan had sort out our defence. Paul Tyson says we've gone past the ex-player loving. Conte would. It isn't just an ex-player loving, Paul. We've discussed everybody on this. Conte has been discussed. Conte's a brilliant manager. He just won the league, but he was on 22 million euros a year at Inter Milan, so he's going to be on big money.
Yeah. He
wants assurances on money to spend. If our budget isn't big because of FFP, Machiri will want to give him it, and Usmanov would probably want to go, yeah, take 500 million, get what you want. But if the Premier League doesn't let us do it, what do we do? And apparently Spurs haven't given what he wants and he's walked away from it. So, but that's not saying Everton won't approach him because Machiri likes that, so maybe he will go for him. Hugh McDonald says Fonseca. Trevor Hambridge says I'd go for Amorim as he's done the job at Sport. We need him to. But if not, then Dunk. Steve, where are we? Steve O says, problem with Moyes, they say never go back. How many have and succeeded? Yeah, there is that. There definitely is that. Belfast Toffee No says, if it's identity we're looking for, Moyes with Ferguson and Tim Cahill covers it. Jack Anion says, what about Frank from Brentford? Yeah, he's done well, hasn't he? But he'd be a risk as well, though, but he has done well, definitely.
Plays nice football.
Does play really good football. Brentford are a brilliant club, though. Money balled up. Benton.
They got the recruitment.
Yeah, he's done it absolutely brilliant. Paul, no worry, mate. We've discussed all of them, mate, all the way through. I'm just reacting really to the comments. That's all. Adam says this FFP thing is old enough. It is, mate. It's so frustrating that we had that chance and we blew it by buying 27 number 10s. That's what's really frustrating, but what can we do? Travelling Tom says Daniel De Rossi. Where are we? There. Lee Morant rather says I'd give Eddie Howe a shot. He would have the passion the club needs. Okay. Okay. Peter Coop says it feels like it doesn't really matter who we get in with this squad. You can only polish your turd so much. Blue Cali says so many different responses from Blues for our next boss. Whoever gets named, there will be moans. Yeah, there definitely will be.
Yeah.
There definitely will be. William Yo says no one voted for Zidane. Dunk loyal, gives all his best to the club, so Mashiri should give him a chance if Zidane isn't taking it. Andy Rutherford says go get Bielsa. I don't think he'd come here. Del Boy says Everton is a bigger club than Spurs. Neo Cryptic says head says Moyes. He'd sort our fitness and cohesion out. Heart says Conte, but mega money, like the lad said. I don't know. Loads in the comments, it's flying. Is there a chance we can sign Conte, says Arthur Mathers. Well, there's always a chance, but I don't know.
Mike said, would you take Bobby Martinez back?
No, not for me, but plenty would. I wouldn't, but plenty
Yeah.
would. Right, last couple, and then we're going to go and get a drink. We're on Patreon 5 Live as well.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of other things to do. Listen, if you're not an Everton fan, but you're interested in general football, me and Ned are doing another live on the Footy Show channel in about 25 minutes, just recapping what's really gone on today in the world of footy. So get over there and check that out as well. Give it a subscribe. It won't be Everton related. So if you're a Blue Nose, go and watch it anyway and give us a subscribe and a like. We would love it. We'd love it to get over 300 likes here as well. Nearly 1,000 people watching and only 294 likes. But thank you anyway for joining us. Paul Tyson says Spurs have only got Kane left. When he goes, they're in trouble. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they do need some players, definitely. L. Lolliot says, love from Malaysia. I don't mind any manager that came as long as we can build our foundation back. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Great Outdoors says, well done, lads. Great show. Come on, you Blues. Stephen McCallman says, Rangnick, it has to be. Last of the Corinthians says, Conte had jumped ship like Carlo has. Definitely, yeah. Soph says FFP shouldn't come into the equation, especially after 6 Super League clubs got away with it. Totally agree, Soph, but it probably will.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
It probably will. Right, thank you very, very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please drop us a subscribe. Thanks. Give us a like if you haven't and you've enjoyed it. Like I said, we will be going over onto the Footy Show channel in about 25 minutes to do 20 minutes on there about other footy stuff. So come and join us and have a chat if you want. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. See you later. They're on camera. See you later.